The next game I've got is Ole Miss at Oklahoma. So I was all over this game. Obviously, with a little bit of bias included. I had Ole Miss winning this game in a close one. I had the final score being 31-30. Ole Miss ended up winning 34-26. What it came down to me was going to be the weapons for Ole Miss. I felt like across the board we had so much depth at wide receiver and tight end, and that proved to be the case. We had our third string tight end make two of the biggest plays in the game, forcing a fumble on special teams and scoring probably one of the game sealing touchdowns late in the game down to the goal line. I think the guy's name is Trace Bruckler. He came from New Mexico State, but he's barely played all this season. Daquan Wright and Caleb Odom and Luke Haas have been our main three go-to guys at tight end. So he may even be the tight end four on our roster, but he ended up being the impact player in this game. I was very impressed. At wide receiver, Winston Watkins, true freshman, stepped up and had his first 100-yard game. We had guys all over the place making plays. Daquan Wright's been one of our most consistent guys, and he didn't do much in this game, given he was not 100%. But our weapons ended up being the difference. Trinidad played another Trinidad game. He was a complete baller. Kawan Lacey had a really tough 77 rushing yards in this game, had a big touchdown run for Ole Miss. I think the biggest shocker for me was how inconsistent OU's offense was.
Outside of those two big plays they had that went for touchdowns, they really just couldn't sustain anything, and that was the difference.
Yeah, those
Y'all
two
were able to
plays were like
sustain
half their total
offense.
yards.
Yeah, y'all were able to sustain offense all day, and they just couldn't.
Yeah, it felt like after the first, I don't know, two quarters of this game going to halftime, Ole Miss was going to run away with it. I think it was like 22-10 or something crazy. We got the safety. It just felt like we were doing everything right, and we just needed to stop the explosives. Sure enough, they come out the half, and I think we were up 12 at one point after maybe swapping field goals with them, and they break off that big touchdown run. Should have been stopped in the backfield. Period. End of story. Bad tackling. He rips off a big one. That's just how it ended. And Oklahoma's offense really didn't do much outside of the big run and the big pass. I think they had a couple of sideline throws to Deion Burks, and I think that Centegna found one other big play in this game early, but I just didn't feel like John Mateer played his best ball. He's obviously still injured. He's struggling to get back into early season form. Their offense just, I don't know, was ever really that good. They obviously had problems running the ball early. We saw that in the first game against Illinois State. We're like, dang, this team can't run the ball against Illinois State. What's going to happen when they get into SEC play? And sure enough, up until they played South Carolina the week before last, they didn't do anything running the ball. So Texas whooped them because Texas controlled the game down into the very end where they were able to break it open for being a one-score game because OU couldn't run the ball. John Mateer was hurt and couldn't throw the ball, so they had nothing going for them offensively. Their defense was not good enough to hold up against a team that had the ball the whole game. And in this game, the same thing kind of happened. Ole Miss, it kind of seemed like they had the ball the whole game. I don't know the time possession numbers on this, but it just felt like Ole Miss had the ball for way too long. Their defense couldn't get off the field. Ole Miss put up more points and total yards on this defense than anybody has pretty much all season. So I was thoroughly impressed with the play calling from Lane Kiffin. He had several big calls on fourth down, and we even had some throws that got missed. There was a 3rd-and-1 play where Trinidad had a wide open touchdown on a play fake. The whole defense sold out on a blitz, and we had Luke Haas wide open over the middle, and Trinidad overthrows a pretty easy touch pass. Not one you expect a guy like that to miss, but again, this guy's only been playing Division One quarterback for like 6 games, so you got to give him some breaks. He's played incredible, but Ole Miss had their chances to put this game away. They actually gave up a 9-point lead to give Oklahoma a 1-point lead in this game, and it looked like Ole Miss had just choked another really big two-possession lead against an away ranked team. Typical Ole Miss fashion, right? I mean, like we are talking about with Mississippi State. That just it's such a Mississippi thing.
It just
Whenever our
is.
teams get in a position to be successful, we screw it up. And I remember walking down the streets of Nashville watching that on my phone on YouTube TV, and I saw the touchdown they made to take the lead. I was like, "Yep, it's over. We choked, just like Georgia. We're not going to win." And of course, as the typical Ole Miss fan I am, I started to doubt Lane Kiffin's ability to win a football game when it came down to a one possession change. And he made the right calls. He put our players in the right positions, and I don't think there's a better coaching staff in the country offensively right now. Skill wise, I think there probably are more talented offenses out there, but I would take Ole Miss's coaching staff on offense over any staff in the country. It's single handedly winning us football games because our defense is so opportunistic and spotty that we cannot rely on them to do anything for us. They had big plays in this game, like the safety and the strip sack, but they are very spotty. So I thought this was a really huge win. I know a lot of people see it that way as to the evidence of how much people are talking about Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin and what that looks like moving forward, which we'll get into in a minute. But a lot to look forward to for Ole Miss if they don't end up dropping some games down the stretch. They're favored in all their remaining games, but as an Ole Miss fan, I've seen this happen before. We still got Florida on deck and South Carolina, and we got to go to Starkville, and most importantly, we have the Citadel. So we got to be prepared for that game.
That's the sketchiest one by far.
Absolutely. I think Lane Kiffin might have been on staff when they played Citadel in Alabama. I can't remember. For those of you that remember the Citadel Alabama game, they were tied with Bama at half, and everybody was freaking out. They ended up getting blown out, but it gets referenced all the time in the college football world. People only remember the Citadel for that. So Ole Miss will need to show up with their A game for that one. But yeah, I was very happy with this result as an Ole Miss fan. I'm just surprised we were able to pull that win out.